Hello and welcome. My name is Brajay Williams, and I'm here to bring you the Bay State Banner Weekend Review. Let's get things started with Mayor Wu kicking off her re-election campaign. Mayor Michelle Wu is officially running for a second term, and she's coming out swinging. Wu launched her re-election campaign this past Saturday in the South End, rallying supporters with a message aimed at defending the city, both from outside threats and internal critiques. It feels like everything that makes Boston, Boston is being threatened, Wu told the crowd, referring to the recent tensions between her administration and the Trump White House. She added, "Now is not the time for a mayor who needs on-the-job training, and now is certainly not the time to hand the keys over to billionaires or developers." The crowd was cheering in response to her pointed comments about Boston's sanctuary city status and the Trump administration's opposition to it. Union members from SEIU 1199, SEIU 32BJ, Local 26 hotel workers, and progressive activists filled the room. Dion Irish, the city's chief of operations, credited the diversity of the crowd to the diverse administration Wu has built. Wu's support was visible. United States Representative Ayanna Pressley, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins, state senators, reps, and most of the Boston City Council were present. Notably absent were Ed Flynn, Aaron Murphy, and Liz Breeden. Historically, no sitting Boston mayor has lost re-election since 1949. Wu's opponent, Josh Kraft, responded with a written statement criticizing her for what he called an ideology-first, results-second approach. But inside the event, Wu's base looks strong. "She's got that momentum," said political consultant Eldon Villafane. "We protect our own." Next up is a new program connecting black and brown men to prostate cancer research. Prostate cancer hits black men harder than any other group in the United States. And here in Massachusetts, a new program is working to close that gap. Black men are nearly twice as likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer and more than twice as likely to die from it compared to white men. That disparity is what the AdMeTech Foundation is focused on fixing through its Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project, launched in 2022. The program connects Massachusetts men over 40 with high-quality prostate cancer care through partnerships with Mass General Brigham, UMass, and Beth Israel Lahey Health. Ken Reeves, president of the Cambridge NAACP, knows the stakes firsthand. He was diagnosed in 2019 and shared how, even after 6 appointments, his doctor confused him with another patient. Reeves said it revealed a deeper issue, not just about care, but about how that care is accessed. "To get the best doctors, you often have to know someone," he said. He became one of the program's first patients. This program has been effective at holding hands and getting the affected men to get good places and the good people, he added. The initiative was highlighted last month during the 16th annual Massachusetts Prostate Cancer Awareness Day, an event officially recognized by the state since 2010. Governor Healy, who also opened last year's awareness event, noted that more than 6,500 men in Massachusetts will be diagnosed with prostate cancer this year, and more than 700 will die from it. She stressed the importance of awareness and education in saving lives. The state has supported this work with funding. In the current budget, Massachusetts allocated $1.25 million to the AdMeTech-led Prostate Cancer Action Council, targeting outreach and research specifically for Black and Latino men. And for the first time ever, Governor Healy included the funding in her proposed 2026 budget, a move usually left to the legislature. The Prostate Cancer Equity Resource Project has also partnered with 13 NAACP chapters across the state, and recently collaborated with the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts for a virtual awareness event. In Plymouth County, where the foundation ran a campaign in partnership with the Brockton NAACP, black mortality from prostate cancer dropped by 55% over 6 years. Disparities in death rates between black and white men in that region also declined, while the statewide gap stayed the same. Dr. Stern says the results show a model that could work with statewide and across the country. "We knew we established a new model of public awareness and engagement," she said. Men over 40 looking to access the program can call 617-523-3535. In our next segment, Dr. Elsie Taveras named chair of Boston's Board of Health. Dr. Taveras, community health isn't just a buzzword for her, it's personal. She grew up on Manhattan's Upper West Side, just steps from a major hospital. But even though the system was close by it, it wasn't built to serve families like hers, working-class immigrants who needed more than specialized care. They need access, compassion, and someone who would see the full picture. Now, decades later, Dr. Taveras is helping reshape how Boston approaches public health, and she's just been named chair of the city's Board of Health, which oversees the Boston Public Health Commission. Appointed in March, Taveras says she's ready to support city efforts to remove barriers that stand between people and their health. "We've come a long way, especially since COVID," she said, "and I'm proud to help guide what's next." She already worn many hats: pediatrician at Mass General Brigham, leader of the Kraft Center for Community Health, and chief community health and health equity officer. But her path wasn't always headed toward policy. She started out thinking she'd spend her life working with children and families. That changed during her residency in Boston. One moment in particular stuck with her. A young boy she helped deliver who later died in a fire caused by a space heater. His family couldn't afford heat and food at the same time, a reality she now calls the eat or heat trade-off. Leaders across the city are applauding her new role. Boston's Medical Center's Dr. Thea James described her as steady, unflappable, and deeply authentic. Mayor Wu added, "I'm confident she'll make Boston a healthier, safer place for everybody." That kind of trust also extends into the neighborhoods. Her approach aligns closely with efforts already underway at the Boston Public Health Commission under Dr. Bisola Ajikutu. That includes a Live Long and Well agenda, a citywide strategy to reduce preventable deaths by tackling upstream factors like economic inequality and access to care. As she steps into this new chapter, Tavera says she feels grateful to be working under city leadership that values community health and ready to keep pushing forward. "We are successful," she said, "if we're showing measurable impact. That's the work ahead of us, and we're all rolling up our sleeves to get it done." Big weekend news in our next segment as the thousands rally on Boston Common for hands-off protests. This past weekend, Boston Common was packed with thousands of demonstrators as the city joined a nationwide wave of protests. At the Parkman Bandstand, crowds gathered for the hands-off rally in March, part of a series of more than 1,200 events across the country opposing President Donald Trump, billionaire Elon Musk, and their perceived impact on everything from government downsizing to human rights and the economy. Organizers said they expected 25,000 people to attend the Boston protest. Claire Carl Miller, a lead organizer for the Unitarian Universalist Mass Action Network, said the rally aimed to protect immigrant neighbors, transgender communities, and push for what she called true democracy. Quote, "We can come together, united and inspired, and hold joy for a vision of democracy." Protesters came with many different motivations. Patricia Cooney, who traveled from Andover, carried a sign that read, "Hands off our Social Security." She explained that her family relies on supplemental security income and Mass Health to care for her disabled daughter and grandson, and worries about the impact of federal policies. "This is very impactful for us," she said. The protest kicked off at 11 a.m. with remarks from Massachusetts AFL-CIO President Christy Lynch. Protesters then marched down Tremont Street toward Boston City Hall Plaza, where the energy only grew stronger. The event featured a performance from Boston's own Dropkick Murphys and appearances from Senator Ed Markey, Mayor Michelle Wu, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, and other elected officials. Also present was Maya Debencourt, a college student studying in South Carolina who marched with her mother. She described the day as a good demonstration of what democracy really is. Next up, White Stadium soccer lease gets a green light in court. A Superior Court judge has ruled the Boston's plan to lease White Stadium to a professional women's soccer team is legal, clearing the way for $200 million redevelopment projects. Judge Matthew Nestor sided with the city, saying the land White Stadium sits on belongs to Boston Public Schools, not Franklin Park itself, and therefore isn't subject to state laws that limit privatization of public parkland. That decision came in response to a lawsuit filed by the Franklin Park Defenders and the Emerald Necklace Conservancy, who argued the stadium lease violates state law and would reduce access to green space for nearby residents. Gene McGuire, a plaintiff in this case, criticized the decision, saying BPS students shouldn't lose access to trees, tennis courts, and open field time in exchange for improved plumbing and facility. The city's agreement with the Boston's Unity Soccer Partnership includes 20 home games a year, from March to November. While BPS students will gain access to a new track and soccer field, their use of space will depend on the team's schedule, and football games will no longer be allowed during the soccer season. Supporters of the project, including the grassroots White Stadium supporters, say the renovated stadium will benefit students, coaches, and the Franklin Park community. They say the field will once again become a city landmark and a welcoming space for all. But opponents are worried about the lost access. They say parking restrictions, schedule conflicts, and the displacement of large community events like the Boston Area Music Soul Festival will make Franklin Park feel less like a neighborhood gathering space and more like a private venue. Marty Glenn from the Hancock Street Civic Association put it this way: "This park is our backyard, and that will be impossible if a professional soccer team is playing at White Stadium."
Greetings, viewers, and welcome to The Intersection, the place where ideas, events, and policy come together to shape the public health, safety, and vibrancy of our shared community. I'm your host, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins, and together we'll examine a multitude of issues of interest as we travel along the many different avenues that make up the intersection. Fresh from his 5-award Grammy sweep, Kendrick Lamar didn't just perform at Super Bowl 59, he detonated. In front of a stadium packed with diehard football fans, Lamar took to the biggest stage in American sports and made it his own personal battleground.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show certified boogeyman. I'm the one that up to score with him.
With a set resembling a massive PlayStation controller, Lamar seemed to suggest the American system was never designed for certain players to win. His dancers, wrapped in red, white, and blue, splintered across a cityscape of unrest as a visual allegory of tattered liberty, spreading a message of resistance, retribution, and revolution.
They not like us. They not like us. They not.
Despite a performance that was literal poetry in motion, the backlash was as predictable as it was instantaneous. Its subsequent debates were fiery, but wasn't that the point? Art that rattles the cage has spawned some of humanity's greatest social movements, attaining notoriety over time. Lamar's performance echoed a half-century of musical rebellion. His line, "The revolution is about to be televised," is a direct callback to Gil Scott-Heron's 1971 anthem, warning that real change won't come prepackaged for mass consumption.
The revolution will not be televised.
Back then, the revolution of the civil rights movement was happening in the streets, away from sanitized TV broadcasts. This time, it was on America's biggest halftime stage in front of millions. Mr. Lamar's incendiary performance will undoubtedly join this nation's celebrated pantheon of artistic struggle, from the coded hymns of enslaved people to Billie Holiday's haunting Strange Fruit, from James Brown's Say It Loud to NWA's unapologetic anthem. Music knows no bounds and cannot be nullified by dissenters labeling it as mere entertainment. Lamar, like those before him, wasn't just rapping, he was reporting. And whether you loved or loathed his Super Bowl set, one thing's for sure, he made you listen. So when Lamar closed his performance with a challenge to the audience telling us, "Turn this TV off," perhaps he wasn't telling us to tune out. Maybe he was telling us to wake up. I'll see you the next time at The Intersection.
Immigration is under attack, and we're not staying silent. Watch GBH Amplifies with the Bay State Banner and community leaders. Now streaming at baystatebanner.com. Next up, the City Council probes Boston police about info sharing with ICE. The Boston City Council held a heated hearing last week about how much information Boston police share with federal immigration agents and what that means for civil rights in our city. The Boston Regional Intelligence Center, known as BRIC, was at the center of the conversation. It's a post-9/11 fusion center where local police departments, including Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, and others, pool surveillance and data resources, from license plate readers to protest monitoring, and share that data with federal agencies like the FBI, Homeland Security, and ICE. Ryan Walsh, director of BRIC, insisted the center only works with ICE on criminal investigations like firearms or human trafficking and does not cooperate with immigration enforcement. "We do not share information with the enforcement and removal side of ICE," Walsh said. But activists who testified pushed back, and hard. Fatima Ahmed, executive director of the Muslim Justice League, said her team reviewed 400 pages of intelligence reports on peaceful Gaza protests, many of which were shared with federal officials between October and December of 2023. "The agenda right now is clear," she warned. "The Department of Homeland Security is being refocused on detaining and deporting immigrants." City Councilor Henry Santana, who chairs the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, called the hearing to review BRIC's operation before the city votes on a new federal grant funding for the agency, which totaled about $2 million last year. The timing of the hearing was especially tense following the arrest of Rumeysa Ozturk, a Tufts University graduate student who had no criminal record but was taken into ICE custody after co-authoring a pro-Palestine op-ed. Her arrest followed an ICE action in which 370 immigrants in Massachusetts were arrested and deported. Activists say BRIC's data sharing pipeline is a serious concern, not just because of what it collects, but who gains access. BRIC has also come under fire for missing violent white nationalist activity, including a 2022 march by the Patriot Front through downtown Boston, where police claimed they had no advance notice. Activists like Heather Perez Arroyo from the Mass Law Reform Institute warned that BRIC's cooperation with ICE has already led to legally present immigrants being arrested on unsubstantiated gang allegations. "The harm from these accusations are real," she said. "People are losing their liberty and due process." Councilors haven't yet indicated whether they'll approve this year's funding to BRIC, but one thing's clear, the debate is far from over. Next up is an update on the Edgar P. Benjamin Healthcare Center facing financial cliffs. Boston Edgar P. Benjamin Healthcare Center may soon face a buyout or even closure, unless a major financial lifeline arrives soon. That's according to court-appointed receiver Joseph Feaster, who told a judge last week that the facility is operating at a monthly deficit of at least $420,000 with a projected $5 million shortfall overall. In his most recent court filing, Feaster said that without any immediate infusion of funds, he may be forced to consider closing the Mission Hill nursing home or transferring operations to a new buyer. He noted that multiple companies have already expressed interest. Superior Court Justice Christopher Balezos, who overseeing the case, emphasized that a long-term solution is needed and fast. "We can't keep going in this fashion," he said during this April 2nd hearing. "The facility has been under court-ordered receivership since April 2024 after former Administrator Tony Francis attempted to shut it down, citing deep financial distress. He's now the target of a lawsuit alleging that he embezzled over $3 million during his 10-year tenure. At issue in the case is also whether the facility is truly mortgage-free, as long believed, a factor that could influence whether the state is willing to back further payments for receivership costs. Feaster has requested funding through Mass Health advances, but the Attorney General office has pushed back, arguing those costs should be covered by the facility itself. Another complication is confusion over how many beds the facility is actually licensed to operate. While staff has cited 91 beds, the Department of Public Health says the number should be 122. To date, the center has not filed for a waiver to keep using rooms with 3 or 4 beds, an option available since post-COVID guidelines went into effect. Tensions inside the center are also rising. Current Administrator Delicia Mark has accused Feaster and his assistant Diane Wilkerson of creating a hostile workplace. Anonymous staff letters also allege Wilkerson hired family members. Feaster denies those claims and says they're retaliation from what he calls an underperforming employee. The court is set to revisit these allegations on April 16th. Meanwhile, Feaster continues to press the state for support. He says unannounced visits from a Department of Public Health monitor without direct communication with him as a receiver are undermining operations, but the state insists those visits are standard and necessary to protect resident safety. The judge acknowledged the frustrations on all sides, but urged parties to stay focused on residents' well-being, not internal battles. Some courtesy between the Attorney General's office and the receiver could go a long way, Balezos said. For now, the future of Edgar Benjamin and its 79 residents remain uncertain.
Check, 1, 2. The show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
Immigration is under attack, and we're not staying silent. Watch GBH Amplifies with the Bay State Banner and community leaders. Now streaming at baystatebanner.com.
The Boston food scene is on fire. There's spicy, dynamic, diverse food here. It's a surprise to visitors that come here. They expect clam chowder and lobster rolls. Yes, we have that, but there's so much more. It's almost unpredictable. Once you're here, you'll see. Things heat up in a hurry. It's like, where's Boston gonna go next? Boston never gets old. Yeah!
Next up, we got sports. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center, a landmark that's become a hub for athletics, wellness, and community in Roxbury. To celebrate the milestone, the center is hosting a year-long lineup of events. In July, they'll tee off with a fundraising golf tournament at the William Devine Golf Course. Then in September, they'll hold a free wellness and healing forum, complete with panel discussions, health screenings, and day of play featuring clinics for basketball, soccer, football, and track. The grand finale comes October 4th when community leaders, supporters, and partners will gather for a celebration of the Reggie's enduring legacy. There will be live entertainment, local food from BIPOC-owned restaurants, and recognition of those who've helped shape the center's impact. Over the years, the Reggie has administered over 100,000 COVID vaccines, hosted presidents, and broken records, including Brockton High's Lucas Andrade, who ran the 55-meter indoor hurdles in 7.22 seconds. Roxbury Community College, which operates the facility, has expanded programming this year to include fitness and wellness classes for all ages, in partnership with the Boston Athletic Association. Seniors are especially encouraged to take part in daily courses designed just for them. Named after Boston Celtics captain Reggie Lewis, the center honors a legacy of excellence and community care. Reggie starred at Northeastern, became an NBA All-Star, and left behind a mark on Boston that still resonates today, from murals across the city to the world-class track that carries his name. In our next segment, we soak in the energy and excellence of this year's NCAA women's basketball tournament. It's important to pause and reflect on the civil rights laws that made it all possible. Title IX. Back in 1972, long before today's young athletes took the court, the U.S. Congress passed the Title IX of the Education Amendments, a landmark law that changed the face of American education and athletics. It prohibited sex-based discrimination in any educational program or activity receiving federal funding, ensuring no one is denied access or opportunity because of their gender. Title IX hit the sports world like an earthquake. Early critics, especially in college and high school athletics, claimed they didn't have the funding to support both men's and women's programs, but history has proven that opposition wrong. In the 53 years since Title IX became law, there's legal battles, roadblocks, and moments of real inequality. Yet the law has opened doors for generations of women who now train, compete, and lead on the biggest stages in sports. Still, the fight isn't over. Disparities remain, from travel accommodations to training facilities to overall treatment. In 2021, during the pandemic, photos of the NCAA women's basketball weight room, just a small rack of dumbbells and yoga mats, sparked national outrage when compared to the men's fully stocked setup. The NCAA later apologized, admitting that they failed to provide a championship experience women could be proud of. The progress made can't be taken for granted, and the push for equality in sports and beyond must continue. Also in college women's basketball, the UConn Huskies women's basketball team just made history again. On Sunday, UConn defeated the South Carolina Gamecocks 82-59 in the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship, securing their 12th national title under head coach Gino Auriemma, the most championships ever in both men's and women's tournament history. The victory ends a 9-year drought for the Huskies and marks their second win over South Carolina this season. The first came in February when they snapped Dawn Staley's 71-game home winning streak with an 87-58 blowout. That loss was especially symbolic because it was South Carolina who beat UConn for the title back in 2022, handing Auriemma his first championship loss. Now, 2 years later, Staley experiences her first title game loss as well. South Carolina had been hoping for their third championship in 4 years and a chance to become the first repeat women's champion since UConn did it in 2016. To get to the title game, UConn dominated UCLA in the Final Four, winning 85-51, the largest margin of victory in women's Final Four history. In Sunday's matchup, South Carolina started hot, hitting 5 of their first 7 shots, but quickly went cold. By the second quarter, UConn went on an 8-0 run, fueled by senior Azzi Fudd, Paige Becker, and freshman Sarah Strong, and by halftime, the Huskies led by 10. Azzi Fudd and Sarah Strong each put up 24 points. Paige Becker added 17, bringing the Big Three's total to 65 of UConn's 82 points. They also combined for 26 rebounds, 9 assists, 6 steals, and 5 blocks, outscoring the entire South Carolina team on their own. For Becker, this win was personal. Injuries in 2021 and 22 sidelined her championship dreams. Now, she finally gets the title that she fought for. As the final buzzer sounded, she wept in her coach's arms, and Azzi Fudd was named Most Outstanding Player of the Final Four, capping off her tournament performance. Even with the loss, South Carolina finishes the season 35-4, continuing an incredible run that includes 5 straight Final Fours, 3 title game appearances in 4 years, and 2 national championships, including an undefeated season. Lastly, but certainly not least in sports, in a comeback that shocked the nation, the Florida Gators stunned the Houston Cougars to win their 3rd NCAA men's basketball national championship. With just 14 seconds left on the clock, it looked like Houston had the game in the bag. They were up 31-28 at halftime and even held a 12-point lead, 42-30, midway through the second half. In fact, they didn't give up the lead until the final 45 seconds. They played lockdown defense, holding Florida All-American Walter Clayton Jr. scoreless for most of the game. The first half was the lowest scoring in men's title games since 2011. Florida led for only 64 seconds total, just over a minute. But it was the final seconds that counted the most. Houston's program, built under coach Kelvin Sampson, was poised for a storybook ending. A win would have secured Sampson's 800th career victory and his first national title, but that wasn't how it ended. Turnovers told the story. Houston had just 4 in the first half, but they unraveled in the final minutes, committing 5 in the last 3 minutes alone, including 4 on their final 4 possessions, and a 5th one with seconds left. With 5 seconds to go, Houston's Emmanuel Sharp had the ball and looked to the game-winning 3, but Florida's Walter Clayton met him at the arc, and Sharp fumbled the ball mid-shot. Picking it up would have meant a travel violation, so a scramble for the loose ball followed, and just like that, Houston's dream season turned into a nightmare. Despite being held in check most of the night, Clayton, who averaged 22 points per game throughout the tournament, was named Final Four Most Outstanding Player. He had back-to-back 30-plus point games earlier in the tournament against Texas Tech and Auburn, tying Larry Bird's legendary scoring run. Houston's LJ Cryer led all scorers in the final with 19 points, and after the game reflected on the heartbreak, saying, "We just had to keep that belief and keep the faith." Coach Sampson added, "Even when we were down 14, these guys will tell you, in the huddle I kept saying just hang in there, but in the end it was Florida who held on and took home the title." Next up, 2 Boston schools are about to get a green energy boost. Thanks to $189,000 state grants, the solar system at Dearborn STEM Academy and Boston Latin Academy will soon see major repairs and upgrades. The work includes replacing failed inverters, rewiring panels, and updating the software that powers the solar arrays. The city's archive building in West Roxbury will also get updates. But this project isn't just about panels and wires, it's also about hands-on learning. Students from Madison Park Technical Vocational High School will be engaged in the process, gaining exposure to the renewable energy field as they learn about the repair firsthand. This funding comes from the Green Communities Grant Program, a state initiative run by Department of Energy Resources, aimed at helping cities and towns reduce energy use and promote clean energy. The program, which launched in 2010, rewards municipalities that meet 5 clean energy benchmarks, from updating zoning for renewable infrastructure to expanding EV use and improving energy efficiency in municipal buildings. So far, 297 out of Massachusetts' 351 cities and towns qualify as green communities, and the state is hoping to reach 300 by the end of this year. According to Commissioner Elizabeth Mahoney, this round of funding marks an important shift. While previous rounds focused on installing brand new systems, this grant is among the first to fund upgrades to existing clean energy infrastructure, a recognition that some of the state's early green projects now need maintenance and modernization. And with this new approach, Mahoney says other cities and towns across the state can now follow Boston's lead, using state support not just to build, but to sustain and strengthen their clean energy commitments.
Check, check, 1, 2. In Boston, the show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
Immigration is under attack, and we're not staying silent. Watch GBH Amplifies with the Bay State Banner and community leaders. Now streaming at baystatebanner.com. Next up, environmental justice advocates are pushing for cleaner air, indoors and out. 2 new bills filed at the Massachusetts State House are aimed at reducing pollution in the places that need it the most: schools, public housing, jails, and neighborhoods closest to the major pollution sources. The first bill focuses on outdoor air quality. It would create an advisory committee to expand monitoring, identify pollution hotspots, and establish benchmarks to cut those levels by 2030 and 2035. It also calls for better air filtration in buildings like schools and jails that sit near major pollution sources. The second bill targets indoor air pollution. It would create a task force to develop standards for air quality in places like child care centers, nursing homes, and public housing. Under the bill, the Department of Public Health and Department of Environmental Protection would oversee inspections and set up formal assessment regulations. At a recent legislative briefing, advocates also urged lawmakers to support a $5 million line item in the state budget for the Massachusetts Healthy Homes program. That program was launched under last year's Affordable Homes Act and helps address hazards like mold, asbestos, and lead inside of Massachusetts homes. Representative Judith Garcia of Chelsea, one of the bill's lead sponsors, says the proposals are designed to protect the most vulnerable from pollutants with serious health consequences. The numbers are clear. A Boston College study found that in 2019 alone, air pollution led to over 15,000 cases of pediatric asthma and nearly 2,800 deaths from lung cancer, heart disease, and stroke. And the burden isn't equal. The American Lung Association's 2020 State of the Air report found that 74 million people of color lived in countries with at least one failing air quality grade, and 14 million lived in countries that failed across the board. These bills have been filed before, but environmental justice groups say the need is more urgent now, especially as President Trump's administration continues to roll back climate protections and policies tied to environmental justice. In our last story, Dana-Farber's proposed freestanding cancer hospital just cleared a major hurdle. Last month, the Massachusetts Public Health Council gave the project unanimous approval, a green light that allows Dana-Farber to move into the next stages of planning and construction. Once completed, this will be the only freestanding cancer hospital in all of New England. The Council's decision indicates the state believes the hospital will help meet critical public health goals, including improving access to care, promoting health equity, and encouraging competition in the healthcare industry. Dana-Farber's first announced the plan back in 2023. Dr. William Hahn, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating and Transformation Officer at Dana-Farber, says hospitals like this can improve survival rates, enhance treatment outcomes, and create a better experience for patients and their families, especially as Massachusetts faces a shifting healthcare landscape, with closures like Kearney Hospital and the bankruptcy of Steward Healthcare. Locally, many providers hope this hospital will help expand equitable care for Boston's communities of color, something Dana-Farber is already working on through partnerships with organizations like Whittier Street Health Center in Roxbury. Frederica Williams, President and CEO of Whittier Street, says the project shows a continued commitment to reducing barriers to high-quality care in underserved neighborhoods. Right now, Dana-Farber runs a mammography suite at Whittier, and its oncologists regularly work with primary care providers at the center. Dana-Farber also operates a mobile mammography van, which serves about 15 health centers and clinics across Greater Boston. This approval is a big step forward, but the project still has several checkpoints ahead. Dana-Farber is currently working with the City of Boston to finalize design approvals, and the Health Policy Commission is reviewing the hospital's potential impact on statewide healthcare costs, especially in connection to Dana-Farber's proposed collaboration with the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Well, all right, that's a wrap on this week's Bay State Banner Week in Review. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Bridget Williams, and I will see you guys next time.